We're wired for weather on Action News 5. From WREL TV, this is Action News 5.
Good evening, I'm Adele Arakawa.
And I'm Charlie Gaddy. In the news at this hour, a series of bizarre killings have police in 2 counties busy tonight and authorities in a 3rd county involved in an intensive investigation. First, in Chatham County, near the Chatham-Orange County line, 2 people have been found dead. A 3rd person is hospitalized. Details are sketchy, but sheriff's deputies tell us they were called to a mobile home near Polk's Landing off Rural Road 530. They found a 68-year-old man. Beside him his estranged wife in her late 50s, both dead from multiple gunshot wounds. A 3rd man, 44 years old, is identified as that couple's son. Police say he was wounded but managed to drive to a fast food store to call authorities, and he is now hospitalized. Identities are being withheld so far. In Orange County, sheriff's deputies are being very tight-lipped at this hour. Officers are involved in an investigation on Highway 86 north of Hillsboro. Action News 5 has crews on both scenes. And then in Guilford County, Greensboro police stormed a home about noon, finding 2 people dead, what authorities think is a murder-suicide. Alfred Lash is believed to have stabbed his former girlfriend and then turned the gun on himself. The investigation also continues tonight.
Tonight, authorities in Nash County have called off the search for a missing plane. They began looking for a downed aircraft almost 24 hours ago after reports of a fiery object streaking down into some trees. Shelley Koffler tells us authorities are still trying to figure out what happened.
Late this morning, spectators pulled up along Highway 301 near Battlesboro.
Just curious.
About what?
About what they said it was, plane crash or whatever.
Well, I heard it on television that there was a plane down, and I came out to see what was going on.
The reports that lured these spectators, reports of a downed plane in this marsh, came from as far away as 50 miles. From Greg Morgan in Rougemont.
It was a big gold glowing object. It looked like it was on fire. It looked like it was about that big.
Similar sightings came from residents along Highway 301.
It appeared to be a plane, and it had one blue light on it and one white light.
Last night, following those reports, some 200 volunteers showed up to help search these woods on foot. Civil Air Patrol and Coast Guard planes looked from the sky.
But after scanning 40 square miles before sunup, the Civil Air Patrol set its birds down for a rest. Meanwhile, another eyewitness insisted the streak of light was not a plane.
I don't think it's nothing to it.
No, why not?
Because I've seen many shooting star. That's all I've seen last night.
By late this afternoon, the Civil Air Patrol had to agree. It called off the search.
It's not that we don't believe, it's just that we haven't been able to turn up anything, and we've given a thorough search of the area.
The Civil Air Patrol says there has been no report of a missing plane, of a plane not reaching its destination. Was it a shooting star or maybe a UFO? Tonight, no one is sure. But if it was an aircraft, officials say it's now buried so deep in the marsh that it won't easily be found. Shelley Koffler, Action News 5 in Nash County.
Tonight in Sanford, the struggle continues over what to do about the local dog pound. Over the Christmas holidays, these dogs were left here unfed and in crowded conditions. They resorted to eating one another. But tonight, Sharon Nash reports there could be a solution in sight.
This is not the first time that trouble has happened, with the pound.
Phyllis Polkmeyer is still outraged about what happened at the dog pound at Central Carolina Technical College. These are pictures she took there 3 months before the cannibalism incident.
This one here, you can see how skinny it is. It couldn't get off the bench. Something's wrong with the leg.
Today, the pound seems to be in order, but the Humane Society wants to move the pound from the college and set up its own facility. They're asking county commissioners for $35,000 a year for 5 years to build a new pound in another location. Officials here at Central Carolina Technical College say they have no objection to a takeover of the pound by the Humane Society. They say in the long run, it will probably save them a lot of grief.
We use the word discourage.
Today, Lee County Commissioners appointed a committee to study the situation and the Humane Society's proposal. No one knows how long that will take.
Definitely something needs to be done now. It don't need to be, drawn out any more than it already has.
In Sanford, Sharon Nash, Action News 5.
Serial killer Henry Lee Lucas may have murdered a Fayetteville man during his bloody spree across the United States. Craven County officials say Lucas has shed some light on the death of John Creech Jr., whose body was found in October of '81. Investigators say Lucas identified the victim from a photo lineup and accurately described the location of a car where Creech's body was found. Lucas has admitted to being involved in nearly 200 murders across the country. One of the biggest raids in Durham County in years. Tonight, that's what ABC officials are calling this weekend's roundup that ended a 3-month undercover investigation. Officers raided about 70 shot houses. More than 60 people are in custody on charges ranging from selling cocaine to possession of non-tax-paid liquor. Officials say the raid only made a dent in the more than 200 shot houses in the Durham area. Tonight, Durham fire officials tell us they still don't know what started a duplex fire yesterday evening, and they don't know who owns the building on Liberty Street. Firefighters arrived at the empty building shortly after 7. 2.5 hours later, the blaze was out.
It took firefighters in Washington, North Carolina, 2 hours to put out a blaze that damaged the National Spinning Company. 2 buildings used for storage were destroyed around 4:30 Sunday morning. Officials still don't have a cause for the fire, and there are no damage estimates yet. The buildings were used to store cardboard boxes and spinning cones. 44 Lumberton people are out in the cold tonight, some with nothing more than the clothes on their backs. They were forced out by fire that destroyed an apartment complex for elderly residents. As Connie Howard reports, while the community is coming to the aid of the victims, Robeson County fire officials are trying to find out what caused the fire.
Gutted apartments, twisted metal, and charred bricks are all that's left of the Saddle Tree apartment complex just outside of Lumberton. In the middle of the destruction, volunteers shoveling debris and hauling out what could be saved. A freezer, some clothing, but in most cases there was nothing to be salvaged. Late Saturday morning, fire broke out in one of these apartments. Firemen responded and thought they had the blaze out, but flames smoldered inside and sparked new fires. Fanned by high winds, those fires destroyed these apartments. Within 17 hours, firefighters were here 4 separate times. And even today, there were still flames.
Just a disaster, I'd say.
Trosky Hammond, son of the owner, was the first to spot the fire.
The time I got over here, it was, I couldn't do nothing about it.
It looked pretty rough. It was so much heat, and the wind was going right the direction, right down to the apartments.
44 elderly people are homeless, 36 apartments gone. What were you able to save?
Not another thing. She saved my clothes. That was all.
Don't know what I'm going to do yet. I didn't tell you a thing. No.
What are you going to do now?
Well, I don't know about needing somewhere to stay.
But already the community is reaching out. Boxes of donated clothes have poured in. Family and friends have opened their homes. Loads of bricks are coming in so volunteers can begin repairs. Sylvia Hammond says whatever it takes, her husband plans to rebuild.
Did you have insurance?
We had some, but not enough to cover this.
So what are you going to do?
Just hope and pray that we can take one day, each day as it comes.
But no one's thinking dollars and cents tonight. This fire could have claimed lives, but it did not. And for that, residents are thankful. In Lumberton, Connie Howard, Action News 5.
Coming up on Action News 5, we'll break down this weekend's pomp and circumstance in terms of dollars and cents.
And Jim Long breaks down a barrier to begin what he sees as a new era in the State Insurance Commissioner's office. Stay with us.
It's coming to farmlands across America. Improved weed control and crop residue. New Lasso Microtech herbicide.
Same great Lasso, now only better.
Billions of micro-encapsulated droplets of Lasso move through crop residue more easily for improved performance in conservation tillage. When crop residue gets in your way, break through with new Lasso Microtech, the yield protector.
The forecast is clear for stargazing at the Weekend with the Stars United Cerebral Palsy Telethon. Meet ABC soap opera star Cliff Warner of All My Children, plus Duke basketball stars Sunday at Durham's Northgate Mall. Talk with Hillary of All My Children at Greenville's Carolina East Mall, or Pat Ryan of Ryan's Hope at Raleigh's Carscott Pavilion. Stargaze during the Weekend with the Stars United Cerebral Palsy Telethon, Saturday and Sunday here on WRAL TV5, the place to be.
Thrills, action, excitement, they're all yours on Action Sports Saturday. Tom Suter, Bob Holliday, and the Action Sports 5 team bring you the hottest action from all your favorite sports. See the highlights, the scores, get the inside story from the people who make it happen with Bob Holliday's special features from the world of sports. Don't miss Action Sports Saturday. Saturday at 11:30, followed by Championship Wrestling on WRAL TV5, the place to be for sports.
When you're young, you've got lots of choices to make. But what if the choice is too big and you need to talk, to tell somebody you're pregnant? At the Children's Home Society, you won't get a lecture, you'll get help. Help in making choices. You choose the time, the place, or we'll come to you. You choose the option, and it's all confidential. Call the Children's Home Society toll-free, 1-800-632-1400. The Children's Home Society, if you're pregnant and need help making choices.
The search for a new person to head the state Democratic Party may be over tonight. Raleigh attorney Wade Smith is being nominated as state party chairman. Smith, long active in the Democratic Party and a former state legislator, was chosen by Lieutenant Governor Bob Jordan.
The reason I decided on Wade Smith is not only because of what I've heard about him, but after talking to him and understanding his commitment, I'm just excited about Wade.
Jordan will officially nominate Smith when the party's executive committee meets in Raleigh this weekend. David Price, who is both party chairman and executive director, is returning to teaching at Duke University. Jordan said the full-time position of party executive director should be filled soon. Smith was unavailable for comment today. The new insurance commissioner, Jim Long, complains tonight he's having to play catch-up. Long says his predecessor, John Ingram, failed to cooperate during the transition period. And Long also claims Ingram's staff threw away some official documents which Long employees salvaged from a trash bin. Ingram's not available for comment on that charge. Long promised reporters this morning he will be accessible to the news media and avoid conflicts with the insurance industry and the state legislature.
And I further instructed the staff that we want this place better organized, better maintained, and carry out one of the goals that I announced throughout the campaign, and that was to restore professionalism in the insurance department.
In a symbolic show of change, Long disconnected the electronic security lock that Ingram had used to restrict entry to his office area. Ingram had previously said that death threats against him were the reason for the electronic buzzer system.
Meanwhile, Governor Jim Martin made some changes of his own today. Reporter Tim Kent has more on the first work day of the new governor.
Normally busy state capitol offices vacated today so that workmen could chip away paint and apply a new look. When the Martin entourage arrived this morning, they pulled up in a state-owned limousine instead of the more traditional highway patrol car. Martin and his advisors, though, say that the limo is only a temporary arrangement. Martin supporters cheered loudly this morning as Martin gave the oath to his cabinet officers. The former professor at Davidson College hopes they will provide the proper chemistry for his administration.
I, Howard Harrison Howard, do solemnly swear that I will well and truly execute the duties of my office, so help me God.
I do, so help me God.
Congratulations to you, sir.
Right inside this door is where Governor Hunt kept his offices in the state capitol. Governor Martin plans to be here also, but probably not as much as Hunt. Martin aides say that the regular business office will be in the administration building, which is several blocks away, a building that offers both more space and more privacy. The new governor plans to use the Capitol office for ceremonial purposes only. Besides just moving in, Martin must still hire a lot of personnel.
Also have to get up towards those decisions we've got to make about the budget, and I'm ready to get after it.
In fact, this maintenance man summed up today's priorities at the state capitol. Sweep out the old, make room for the new. In Raleigh, Tim Kent, Action News 5.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving say they will meet this week to talk about one aspect of the Martin inauguration they didn't like. Alcohol was served at a public reception for Martin Saturday at the Raleigh Civic Center. MAD members say they are concerned that alcoholic beverages were available at a function that minors could attend. They say they'll write the new governor about it. Tar Heel taxpayers may be interested to know that they helped pay for some of this weekend's inauguration expenses. Much of the money, however, was donated by private citizens and businesses. But it wasn't enough to cover everything. Renee McCoy takes a look at how tax dollars were spent.
It was a festive time, a chance to look forward to a new administration, new policies, and some new faces. People from all over the state turned out. An estimate of 10,000 showed up for the inauguration ceremonies alone. When that many people are together in one place, you can bet security will be tight. And that's where much of the cost came in.
Well, you would be providing security for the individuals, as well as trying to maintain a secure atmosphere in the locations where they were going to be.
Harold Elliott, Deputy Director of the State Bureau of Investigation, was the mastermind behind the inauguration security forces. Elliott says to do the job right, he called in more than 100 people from 9 different law enforcement agencies. 19 deputies were called from the Wake County Sheriff's Department, 12 to 15 officers from Raleigh PD, 60 agents from the State Bureau of Investigation, 6 from the Wake County Alcohol Beverage Commission, and the list goes on.
I think it went extremely well. When you have that large an operation and you don't have any incidents of any real consequence, then I think you had a successful operation.
The State Highway Patrol had its share of duties during the long 3-day event. Officials say more than 100 troopers from 8 different troops across the state were involved, and they put in a lot of long hours and plenty of overtime. Those troopers acted as escorts during the parade and drove the convertibles carrying top state officials. But the lion's share of the manpower came from the state's National Guard, a total of 530 people, from helicopter pilots to auxiliary personnel. Now that those are the numbers, how much did it cost? The final figures won't be in for at least 3 days, but $51,000 of state money had been set aside, while $125,000 came from private donations. In Raleigh, Renee McCoy, Action News 5.
Well, I'm going to be a full-time lawyer, and I'm excited about being in the private sector now, but I've already...
That's how former Governor Jim Hunt feels about his new career. We'll talk to him about life after politics and what his future holds. Still ahead on Action News 5, are tests to screen blood donors for the disease AIDS foolproof? That story on Medical Newsline.
And just how much do these college students know about the world around them? We'll have those stories and more when we come back.
Financing for 85 at Central Carolina Datsun in Sanford and Clinton Datsun in Clinton. Get 8.8% APR financing on all new Nissan trucks in stock. We've got over 300 1985 Nissan trucks available for immediate delivery, and our special low interest rate of 8.8% means you can save hundreds with low monthly payments. For guaranteed lowest prices, come to Clinton Datsun in Clinton and Central Carolina Datsun in Sanford.
On the next edition of Our Magazine, Lauren Hutton takes it off.
Whoa.
And reveals to Gary Collins how she really feels about modeling.
It's a job.
Yeah.
It could never be life's work. Aside from the fact that it's based on youth, it's just fantastically boring.
Plus, Dr. William Rader examines cults. Do-it-yourself hair with Jose Ebert. And he's a showgirl on the next Our Magazine.
Tuesday at 9 on WRAL TV 5.
It was up one yesterday, but it's down today.
Thousands play the stock market, but is the venture worth the risk?
Now you could get lucky.
Tina Selden investigates. Flat telephone rates versus measured service. What's the real difference?
There were no Southern Bell officials.
Tina Selden investigates. What's behind the booming VCR business?
About a third what you paid.
Tina Selden investigates on Money Desk, weeknights at 6 on Action News, here on WRAL TV 5.
WRAL TV presents Did You Know?
Did you know that you can make a difference in the life of a handicapped person? If you're an employer, you can help by considering qualified disabled persons for job openings. If you're not an employer, you can help by joining community groups that work for the handicapped. Call the Vocational Rehabilitation Office in your community for information on how to get involved.
We're making your community the place to be. WRAL TV 5.
Tobacco farmers say they're beginning 1985 confused and concerned about the future of their livelihood. Caught in the crossfire between politics, smoking and health, foreign competition, and the demand for less tobacco, growers from every state in the nation have gathered in Pinehurst to talk tobacco. John Cyrus, Tobacco Affairs Specialist with the Department of Agriculture, says the latest news that grower assessment fees will triple this year may be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
They are very much concerned about the high no-net cost assessment, and in fact they look at these things and they begin to see there's no way that the farmer is going to be able to shoulder the burden that's being placed on them.
The conference in Pinehurst will include a crystal ball look at the future of tobacco as the state's #1 cash crop. Tobacco growers and other farmers are often heard saying how tough times are for their businesses, but an NC State University economist says things really are not so bad for North Carolina farmers. Professor Mark Johnson says Tar Heel farmers do much better than their counterparts in the Midwest. He says some claims of hard times are exaggerated.
There's a tendency with so much governmental attention to the farm problem to overstate the case, and that oftentimes brings more assistance.
Johnson says no matter what you hear, farming is still a healthy industry in North Carolina.
Tonight there are new findings about the test for AIDS, once thought to be so promising. Tonight on Medical Newsline, Denise Boyer tells us the new AIDS test is not foolproof.
No, it works, it's going to be helpful, and it will be used, but a new study shows blood screening tests to protect blood banks from AIDS contamination aren't as effective as hoped. The National Cancer Institute says the test is 70% effective in detecting AIDS in blood donors. The test is designed to pick out antibodies against acquired immune deficiency syndrome. But research shows the body doesn't always produce the antibodies even if AIDS is present. Doctors say AIDS tests aren't the ultimate answer. A doctor predicts freezing human embryos for later implantation in the womb is a wave of the future. Doctors at Yale New Haven Hospital say they will ignore the controversy surrounding this issue and begin doing the procedure. I checked with some local hospitals, and those I checked with aren't planning to freeze embryos simply because of the controversy. There are several legal questions involved with freezing embryos. What rights do they have? What if their parents die before they're implanted? Right to Life activist and Apex attorney Paul Stam says frozen embryos do have rights.
Live here in North Carolina. Of course, a child from fertilization doesn't, by our law, have a right to live until he's born. But even from conception, our law gives that child property rights. He can take by deed, he can take by will and tested succession, he can have a guardian, be a beneficiary of the trust.
Stam says the legal community isn't moving as quickly as medicine. Several legal questions concerning new birthing methods are left to address. Younger patients in professional managerial positions are more likely to return to work following a stroke than blue-collar workers. The Bowman Gray School of Medicine in Winston-Salem studied 379 stroke victims. It found age, occupation, degree of disability, race, and the brain hemisphere affected were the most significant factors. Those 55 and younger were most likely to return to work. White-collar workers were back on the job faster than blue-collar workers.
And that's Medical Newsline.
All right, thanks, Denise.
Thank you. A federal judge in New York has given final approval to a $180 million settlement in the Agent Orange suit. The suit was filed by thousands of Vietnam veterans who claim the herbicide for health problems among them and their families. The settlement was reached with 7 chemical companies last May, just hours before the case would have become the largest product liability suit ever to go on trial. A hearing has been set for March to decide how the veterans and their families will be paid their share of the settlement.
Coming up in our next half hour of Action News 5, the government is still looking for people to give these four-footed friends a good home.
I've helped build this state for 12 years in the top offices, and I think that can be a very valuable experience in helping.
And that man plans to use that experience outside the fishbowl now.
In sports, after 3 weeks on the road, North Carolina's basketball team is glad to be home, and in the weather, we'll see what changes are ahead for us in the coming days of the week. We'll find out from Bob in the Weather Center when we come back in a minute.
Come and get it. The lowest factory-sponsored truck financing. 8.8% on any new 85 Nissan truck. 8.8 annual percentage rate to qualified buyers at participating Datsun dealers. It can save you over $600 in interest on Nissan's lowest sticker price truck. Over $1,300 depending on model and options. 8.8 is only from Nissan and only for a limited time. So get your Nissan now. They're going fast.
It's an up and at 'em, get a jump on the day kind of place. It's a take control, reach for the sky kind of place. It's a split-second spine-tingling place. A heart-pounding place. An ace of a place. There's no place like this. WRAL TV5, the place to be.
Abraham Lincoln did his lessons on the back of a shovel. Life was simpler then. Many leaders succeeded without an education. They didn't have to worry about microelectronics and computers, but we do. Today, everyone needs at least a basic education, yet more than a third of our state's adults don't even have a high school diploma. Our community college system offers adult education classes at locations throughout the state, and classes are taught free of charge. Take advantage of them.
Because of your support, at North Carolina's Centers for United Cerebral Palsy, you'll find giving, caring, sharing. Thanks for giving and sharing with United Cerebral Palsy. You're making every day of caring possible.
Good news for skiing lovers. North Carolina ski resorts say pack up your skis and head on up to the west. It's cold enough to make snow, and most of North Carolina's ski resorts are opening. 7 of the 10 resorts open today, and if the weather stays cold, the rest of them will follow suit. Warm weather in December and earlier this month made snowmaking impossible. Look at that. Look at that, Adele. That's beautiful, yeah.
Could, I would.
Yeah, let's see what Bob says, what we have in store for the beginning of the week.
You're right, cold. And the cold air is coming. And we don't want to upset anybody, Charlie, or panic anybody, but we have the potential for some frozen stuff, maybe, toward the latter part of the week, and we'll tell everybody about that in a moment. That's potential. It doesn't necessarily mean it is going to happen. All right, today, 52, and that's the last time we'll see that for quite a while because temperatures are going to head downward. The morning's low was 32. We're at 48 right now. Humidity at 42%. Pressure rising. Westerly winds at 10. Carr Lake jumped 1 whole foot from yesterday's reading. Only minor changes in Jordan and Falls. All right, it's weather chart time, and let's talk about what's going to happen over the next couple of days. These are troughs of low pressure, cold fronts, and cold air is going to start to filter in over the next couple of days, and temperatures are just going to keep easing downward and downward and downward, and storms are going to make up back through the Pacific Southwest and start to move across the Gulf Coast states. You know what happens in North Carolina when we have cold air on top of us and moisture coming up from the south? We could be in for some trouble spots. Doesn't necessarily say that it will happen, but it certainly could be. Meanwhile, the storm up around the lakes is causing some snow up through the Appalachians and around the lakes. High pressure is in Texas right now. This is in firm control of our weather. We want to take a look at our weather charts now over the next couple of days. Okay, we start out with Monday. Now let's go to Tuesday and see what's going to happen. Cold front will be well to the south, down around southern Florida. This means cold air now will be pumping down in on top of us from Canada. Slowly but surely, the temperatures are going to ease down now over the next several days. A storm will make up back through the southern Rockies. Another storm off the Pacific coast, which we don't even see yet. Probably will not even form until about Thursday. This is the one that we may have to keep our eye on. In the meantime, this will generate a lot of moisture. The cold front, moisture will come up from the Gulf of Mexico ahead of it as it makes its way across the southern states, and so we'll probably see some precipitation in here Thursday morning. If the temperatures are cold enough Thursday morning, it could begin as sleet, freezing rain, and that other word I'm not even going to mention yet because we're not even quite sure. And it'll probably be Wednesday before we have a good handle on these. These things are very, very unpredictable. Wednesday, the trough of low pressure will be coming right on down on top of us. Again, cold air will just reinforce what already is here. Then we take a look at these moisture-laden storms as they start to make their way across the Gulf Coast states. And if this is the case now by Friday, and we get this situation starting to develop and it starts to move up the coast, then we could see something else besides rain. And again, that Pacific Coast storm, the one that we're really interested in, is not even showing on the weather map by Wednesday as yet. These are computer model forecasts that indicate that these things have a potential for happening. But we'll just have to wait and see what really does happen. By Wednesday, I think we'll have a pretty good handle on it. Now, in the 50s down along the coast, in the 40s elsewhere, except at Asheville where it's 39, 48 degrees in the Triangle now. Clouds are either here or it's fair to partly cloudy around the state, and temperatures are going to ease on downward now for the next several days. So let's take a look at our forecast and show you that what we've made up so far in the Weather Center, and say first for tonight, under basically partly cloudy skies, temperatures will ease on down to about 40 degrees later on tonight, probably by 11 o'clock. Last night we had a low of 32, tonight 30, a little cooler. Again, partly cloudy skies, no real big deal, except the cold air tomorrow will start to reinforce itself. Temperatures only moving up into the upper 30s by mid-morning. We will see the sunshine. Today we were in the low 50s. Tomorrow we're only going to be in the mid-40s or slightly below under partly cloudy skies. But the big question now is that the extended forecast, as we pop it up on the screen for you, what is going to happen on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday? If we get moisture in here on Wednesday morning with a temperature at 25 degrees, some of it could be frozen. But you'll notice the daytime temperatures will be apparently warm enough to keep us from getting into any serious problems. At least this is what we have projected right now. And every time I think cold temperatures, I think springtime. And that's a springtime picture from Amy Jackson from Kenly, North Carolina. Think spring. All right, Johnson.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Folks are already talking about what our new governor may face in the next several years to come. But what about the man he replaced? Today, reporter Clarence Scott caught up with Jim Hunt and found out what life is like for the former governor.
Come out of the big companies with a new idea, finding a little niche in that market and developing.
Meet Jim Hunt, the lawyer. Today he debuts in the private sector after serving as governor of our state for 8 years and lieutenant governor 4 years before that.
Well, we do have a big crowd here.
No longer surrounded by cabinet members, he now meets with fellow attorneys. No longer the constant center of media attention, he can now walk quietly down a hallway without much ado. No longer chauffeured and escorted by SBI agents, now it's just Hunt and his secretary. So does he miss it?
But I don't miss that one single bit.
Would he do it again?
I continue to be very interested in the future. Senate races down the road are a real possibility.
But until that Senate race comes along, Hunt says he'll use his experience as governor to be the best attorney possible and to make a little money.
It will be more profitable than being governor. But I've got a big family and a lot of kids in school. And about a year or so from now, I'm going to have 3 in college at the same time. And everybody in North Carolina who's experienced that knows that you got to be making money.
Money that could also go for another Senate race, if that's what his future holds. Clarence Scott, Action News 5 in Raleigh.
Coming up, Tina Selden at the Money Desk.
If you think you can't afford a new car, you may want to think again. We'll have more from Tina when Action News 5 continues.
Anyone can get hemorrhoids, and when you get them,
I got them.
Do something about them.
I don't know.
Preparation H works naturally.
Yeah, but can it relieve this painful flare-up?
Naturally.
I'll try it.
Preparation H has 100% natural active ingredients. It often relieves the itch and pain for hours, while it helps shrink the swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissue. Preparation H.
It worked.
Naturally.
I run this hotel. Extraordinary place. People from all walks of life, crossing paths, strangers, touching each other's lives. Sometimes for just a night, sometimes for a lifetime. Anything can happen to you here.
James Brolin. He's with you on Hotel.
We're with you on ABC with you.
Now
you can shine with the best of them on Weekend with the Stars Telethon for cerebral palsy. 21 hours filled with spectacular entertainment, hours of laughter, drama, music. See the biggest stars in show business joining in to make this year's Cerebral Palsy Telethon a huge success. Tune in right here to the United Cerebral Palsy Telethon and join in and shine with the best of them.
Saturday and Sunday on WRAL TV5. Savor the beauty and splendor of Spanish still life painting at the North Carolina Museum of Art. They're proud to present an exhibit of 35 paintings by Luis Melendez, a man who created elegance from the simple foods and kitchen utensils used way back in 18th century Spain. You can see these paintings from major European collections starting January 12th, and the exhibit runs through March 10th. See it at the North Carolina Museum of Art.
If you missed the horse adoption last month in Union County, you have another chance. The Federal Bureau of Land Management is sponsoring another sale of wild horses and burros later this month. The fee to adopt a horse is $125, and buyers must promise to give them a good home. If you're interested in buying one of the horses, the numbers to call are 703-274-0188 in Alexandria, Virginia, or 615-654-2180 in Cross Plains, Tennessee. Again, those numbers are 703-274-0188 or 615-654-2180. The sale is set for January 19th.
1984 was a terrific year for U.S. automakers. Car sales were up 17% over 1983. The 6 major U.S. automakers sold 8 million American-made cars last year and are looking forward to another big year in 1985. But those cars are more expensive than ever, so if you're in the market for a new car and don't think you can afford one, our Money Desk reporter says she might have some ideas for you.
Charlie, as young as I am, I can remember when new cars cost about $3,000, believe it or not. And that was a lot of money then, and now they're around $10,000. You'd be hard-pressed to find one mid-sized car cheaper. Some people are buying used cars instead because they can't afford new ones. Well, there's a less expensive way to drive a new car, one you might have never considered. More and more people lease cars for private use and do save money.
Readily, immediately, air conditioning, electronically tuned AM/FM stereo, automatic transmission.
Shopping for a car. It's something most of us have to do at one time or another, whether we like it or not.
And what kind of mileage does this one get?
This one is rated by the EPA at 25 miles per gallon city, stop-start type driving, and 30 miles per gallon highway.
We listen to the sales pitch, kick the tires, and seem to know much more about cars than we really do.
You might notice that this particular engine is mounted transversely, or sideways, if you will.
Oh yeah, I noticed that right away.
After all is said and done, there's the price of the car and how to pay it.
Now, if I could put $1,000 down, how much would the car cost me a month?
Based on a 48-month period of financing, your payment would be approximately $226 per month.
Well, that seems a little high. Is there anything else I could do?
Yes, you could lease the car with only putting down $225 as a security deposit. You could have payments on the lease schedule of $180.34.
So if I buy the car for $9,017, I'll have to put $1,000 down and pay $226 per month. If I lease, I pay a $225 deposit and pay $180 a month. That sounds like a good deal, but I'll be paying and never own anything.
Well, you know, there's a lot of people who never really own their car when they think about it. The bank holds the title, they make payments, and they trade at the end of 3 years. And so have they really owned their car? And I think that's the question they've got to ask themselves when they compare it to leasing.
This dealer leases about 20% of his cars and within 5 years expects to lease over 50%. You may want to consider leasing if you are in a moderate tax bracket, about 33%. If you don't itemize interest payments as a tax deduction. If you buy a new car every 3 to 4 years, and if you drive less than 15,000 miles a year. You can choose from 2 types of leases, open-end and closed-end. The closed-end is risk-free. You simply return the car when your lease expires. The open-end lease has lower monthly payments, but you may have to pay several $100s for depreciation when your lease expires. Closed-end leases are safer. It can't hurt to look into leasing, especially if you don't have down payment money, want lower monthly bills, and don't claim interest payments on your taxes. Be sure to read and understand the terms of the lease contract. A car lease can be very expensive to cancel if you change your mind.
Some car buyers are making lower monthly payments by taking out 60-month auto loans. Now about 15% of all car loans are for 5 years instead of the previous limit of 4 years. Of course, you should consider how much interest you'd be paying before taking out a 60-month loan. It could be much more expensive in the long run. Car buyers are leaning toward larger, more expensive cars with more options. Though large and luxury cars are more expensive, sales were up as much as 52% on one model. In contrast, Ford showed only a 7% increase in the sale of small economy cars. But if you're looking for ways to save on that new car, consider a manual transmission. A national consulting firm reports that car owners can save $206 every year with a manual transmission. First, they're cheaper to buy than automatic transmissions, and they're more fuel efficient. So, Charlie, think about using a little more energy and saving a couple of $100s a year.
As young as you are, you know how to shift gears on a car?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Always
okay.
had a manual transmission in my car. Love to do that.
All right, still ahead on Action News 5, talks over arms control continue.
But what does that mean to the people of North Carolina? We'll find out when we come back.
If you're one of 10 million Americans... Like me.
Like me. Like me.
With a bladder control problem, comfortable, discreet, Depend undergarments give you effective protection from wetness because of a fluid-locking material that absorbs fast, locks fluids in, won't let go.
It works. It works. Depend really works.
Disposable Depend undergarments for discreet, effective protection.
The rocky cliffs of Grandfather Mountain
Homes are threatened by the advancing ocean. Search shifted 10 miles west to Marion.
When big news breaks anywhere in North Carolina.
Police officers surrounded the small White House in East Winston. The fire raced down the length of the 1,000-foot pier in minutes.
The state's top television stations combine their news resources so you'll see it faster.
Carolina Beach. I'm Shelley Kaufler.
Reporting for the Carolina News Network.
See big news first from the Carolina News Network, only on WRAL-TV's Action News 5.
The state port at Wilmington may soon get as much as $12 million in federal money. It's all part of a new Marine Corps project. The Corps is gearing up for a new kind of warfare that will make U.S. troops combat ready on short notice using floating supply depots. Depots will be stocked with everything from food to tanks. At Wilmington, the Marines have hired civilian longshoremen, and they have gone ahead and rented 9 acres of the state port for 3 years.
Meanwhile, soldiers from Fort Bragg are on their way to Central America. They, along with 4,000 U.S. soldiers, will take part in a joint military exercise between the United States and Panama. The Pentagon says the reason for the exercise is to test the two countries' ability to defend the Panama Canal against what it calls guerrilla insurgency. As the Soviet Union sits down with U.S. diplomats in Geneva to talk nuclear arms reduction, one expert in Chapel Hill is warning people not to get their hopes up. Secretary of State George Shultz and Soviet Foreign Minister Andrei Gromyko head the talks. Even though it's taken the Reagan administration 4 years to meet with the Russians, Dr. Samuel Williamson doesn't think it will take as long to reach some kind of an agreement.
That down payment cost, the entry cost of 4 years, will not be replicated in the negotiation posture, but my guess is it will take at least 8 to 10 months of serious negotiations to come forward with some sort of acceptable set of treaty negotiation results.
But Williamson says the talks in Geneva this week can only set the agenda for future talks.
And that second round of talks between U.S. and Soviet officials in Geneva has ended. Secretary of State Shultz and Soviet Foreign Minister Gromyko will meet again tomorrow. There'll be more on that story during World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. For a preview of what's coming up, here's ABC.
The United States and the Soviet Union have resumed nuclear arms talks for the first time in more than a year, and it's a development the world is watching with great interest and a good deal of hope. On World News Tonight, we'll report both on the American and the Soviet point of view. We'll have commentary from ABC's George Will, who is with us here in Geneva, and we'll also have the second part of our interview with former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, tonight on what it's really like to negotiate with Andrei Gromyko. I'm Peter Jennings in Geneva. I hope you'll join us for ABC's World News Tonight.
And John Hudson joins us now from our news desk for a preview of some of the stories we're working on for Action News 5 tonight at 11 o'clock. John?
Adele, tonight Brian Glazer will have a report on what was either a double murder or murder-suicide in Chatham County. We'll also have more on the discovery of 2 bodies in Orange County. All of us face stress from time to time, but for diabetics, stress can be fatal. Tonight on Medical Beat, Denise Boyer tells us how some people with diabetes are learning to cope with stress. Those stories on Action News 5 tonight.
All right, thank you, John. Coming up, it's going to be the 49ers and the Dolphins in the Super Bowl.
And Duke solidifies its #2 ranking after a game against Virginia. Tom Suter is next.
Natural Light, the beer with the taste for food, brings you the road to the Super Bowl.
When Seahawks star Kurt Warner was lost for the year with an injury, wide receiver Steve Largent helped fill the void with his greatest season ever.
Back to pass goes Craig. Boston in the end zone. Touchdown to Largent.
Largent led the way as Seattle won the most games in its history and made the playoffs for the 2nd straight year. A happy journey on the road to Super Bowl 19.
My favorite chicken recipe is the delectable chicken Monica. This is chicken raised to true art.
Hello.
And here's how we start.
Hello?
Hello, Monica. Don't hang up. I'll never do that again. How about dinner? Your place. I'll bring the beer. Natural Light, the beer with the taste for food. You know, the blue on the label matches your eyes.
Yeah, all natural, less spilling. It's Natural Light from Anheuser-Busch.
And the gold on the label matches your hair.
Thrills, action, excitement, they're all yours on Action Sports Saturday. Tom Suter, Bob Holliday, and the Action Sports 5 team bring you the hottest action from all your favorite sports. See the highlights, the scores, get the inside story from the people who make it happen with Bob Holliday's special features from the world of sports. Don't miss Action Sports Saturday. Saturday at 11:30, followed by Championship Wrestling on WRAL TV 5, the place to be for sports.
It's a challenging, never fear the competition place. It's a go for it, you can do it place. A try harder, make your move kind of place. A competitive place. A winning place. There's no place like this. WRAL TV 5, the place to be.
It looks like Tom brought his laundry for us to do.
Well, no, I bought presents. I didn't buy them. I brought them for you and for Charlie and for Bob.
A Greek bearing gifts, huh?
You remember back in November, I went down to Stedman, North Carolina, to Stedman Junior High School, and they said they were going to send us a Christmas present. And they told me what it was going to be, and I said, great. Well, it arrived after Christmas.
A little late.
Now, they sent us these shirts right here. It has Stedman Junior High on it. Let's see if we can get a shot of this. Here's the Stedman Junior High, Ram Pride. And on the back, they've got, like, this is Charlie's right here.
Thank you
Charlie.
very much.
Isn't that nice?
Thank you. That's very
now,
nice.
they ask about first or last names, and I said, well, I don't know how to spell Arakawa, so you better put...
oh, no, you didn't know. Can you show it?
Yes, right. I said Adele.
Oh, okay.
And this is for
thank you.
And Charlie, put this, Bob always checks his cold fronts out during sports, so... So you can put that in his chair. Isn't that nice?
Thank you very much.
And we thank those people very much. We were right, weren't we?
Batting 1,000, 2 for 2.
Well, I must say it wasn't hard to pick the Dolphins or the 49ers.
No.
We'll have to think about our Super Bowl
okay,
pick,
we
right?
might be going against each other on that one.
It could be. I don't know, but, you know, this is the way a Super Bowl ought to be. The 2 teams with the best records. No upset specials yesterday as the Dolphins and the 49ers rolled, and I mean rolled. I'll tell you, it is fun to watch Dan Marino play. 4 touchdown passes, 400-plus yards in passing, 45-28 win over Pittsburgh, and for the second time in 3 years, Miami's back in the Super Bowl.
Well, I've got a second chance in my career to go back to the Super Bowl and a chance to win it. And as I said earlier, the only thing that I have not done within my career is been on a championship football team, and we've got a chance.
They do indeed have a chance, but oh my goodness, it won't be easy against a San Francisco team that compiled the most wins of any NFL team ever. Listen to running back Wendell Tyler.
What happened to me in my career is to win the Super Bowl. I was with the Rams and we lost, and I'm excited today, but we still have another game to play.
Right you are, Wendell. 1 game left, the Super Bowl 13 days from today, and you can watch it right here on TV 5. All right, the new college basketball polls won't be released until tomorrow morning, but you got to believe Duke's going to still be at #2 when those polls are released. Now, Saturday on the road at Virginia, the Blue Devils outshot and out-rebounded by the Cavaliers, but Duke still came out a 5-point winner. Today, Coach Mike Krzyzewski gave credit to the Devil defense. He says that's the strength of their team.
The thing that's different is our defense. Now we can suffer a little bit from lack of offense. Not for long periods of time, but for a little bit. But our defense has kept us in the ball games, and that's the sign of a fairly consistent team.
Okay, after looking at what transpired over the weekend, you got to think North Carolina State has some problems. The Pack did not play well at all at Kentucky. They seemed disorganized, especially that first half, as Coach V kept searching for the right combination but never found it. Now, it's still early in the season, but what has to be particularly unsettling to the state coaching staff is that this is a veteran team, one that shouldn't be making all those mistakes. The Pack needs to say, all right, everything's behind us. Let's start fresh tomorrow against the University of Virginia. And while State is groping for answers, they are euphoric at Wake Forest. The Deacons, getting 26 points from Kenny Green, prove they're a team you better pay some attention to with that 14-point upset of 9th-ranked Georgia Tech. Certainly a nice win for the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. And by the way, State's big 6'11" Chris Washburn will get his day in court tomorrow. The highly touted freshman was arrested on December 21st and charged with breaking into another athlete's room and stealing a stereo. Washburn told UPI, and we quote, "It was a college mistake, something people are going to do," end quote. His hearing tomorrow morning. Well, Carolina fans, the rumor that the Tar Heel basketball team has indeed reappeared in the state of North Carolina is true. After spending most of the holidays in exotic places like Japan, Hawaii, and Florida, UNC back practicing today in Carmichael Auditorium. Jay Jennings has more.
Join the Tar Heels and see the world. Well, that could certainly be Dean Smith's recruiting pitch from now on. Since the 1st of December, Carolina has joined the jet set with games in Boston, Osaka and Tokyo, Japan, 2 games in Honolulu, and a pair in Florida. Despite a loss to Missouri, the Tar Heels come home 10-1, and we assume playing as well as any team in the country, considering the quality of the recent opposition. But after all this globetrotting, Carolina is more concerned with jet lag than jump shots.
A lot of traveling takes a lot of toll on you, and might cut you down a little bit defensively, and that's where you really need to work hard. Now it's just getting our rest and getting back and getting ready for Maryland.
But against Maryland, Kenny and his teammates will miss Big Joe Wolf. The versatile sophomore severely sprained his ankle in Florida and is out for 2 weeks. Carolina must now face Maryland, Virginia, SMU, NC State, and Duke without Joe Wolf.
I definitely think it'll hurt our team without Joe, because just the dimensions he gives to the team. And we can put him on the outside and make a big guy play him on the outside, or we can put him inside on a smaller guy. So I think right there it's going to really hurt us.
Even without Wolf, and despite the rigors of intercontinental travel, the Tar Heels have emerged again as a favorite in the ACC race. Jay Jennings, Action Sports 5.
Okay, we'll go to the NBA, and when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar isn't hawking candy bars, he's making game-winning shots. The oldest player in the league is still one of the best. He is terrific. The Lakers down by a point when Kareem is going to hit the 12-footer at the buzzer. Los Angeles, a 99-98 winner over San Antonio. Big week of tennis coming up in New York. The $400,000 Volvo Masters starts this week. 12 of the top players in the world will be competing. They met with the press today, and the favorite there, defending champion John McEnroe. How about that?
All right, Tom. I've got a trivial question for you coming up a little bit later, and see how you're going to answer it for us.
All right.
Coming up on Action News 5, just how good are you in geography?
Where's Vladivostok?
Oh, God.
If you don't know the answer, you're in the majority. We'll have more on that story in a moment.
Jam in the park, just before dark. Coors Light, turn it loose with the silver bullet. Find the beat, unwind and pull it. It's the right light taste, moving to the sound. Coors Light won't fill you up, won't ever slow you down. Play it light, party right, turn it loose with the silver bullet tonight.
Coors Light beer.
Now you can shine with the best of them on Weekend with the Stars Telethon for cerebral palsy. 21 hours filled with spectacular entertainment, hours of laughter, drama, music. See the biggest stars in show business joining in to make this year's Cerebral Palsy Telethon a huge success. Tune in right here to the United Cerebral Palsy Telethon and join in and shine with the best of them.
Saturday and Sunday on WRAL TV5.
I'm Ted Koppel. Every weeknight on Nightline, we try to bring people together who are worlds apart to let them present their side on important issues and events. What happens can be enlightening, it can be exciting, and it could be one of those unique live moments that you won't see anywhere else. So watch Nightline weeknights at 11:30, following Action News at 11 with John Hudson and Adele Arakawa here on WRAL TV5 in North Carolina.
We're the Art School of Carrboro, exploring and creating art from music to mime for kids, adults, senior citizens, and the handicapped. Now we're celebrating year number 10. 10 years of challenging the artistic spirit of our people. 60,000 people who filled our walls and reached out into the community. We're the Art School because of you. Support the Art School, Center for the Visual and Performing Arts. We're making your community the place to be. WRAL TV5.
We'll be back with more news after tonight's WRAL editorial.
Well, it's all over now, the inauguration of a new governor and council of state. The dancing, parading, and cheering, there's a kind of euphoria to it, like that of Christmas and New Year's Eve. But now, the cold light of a winter Monday morning has already given notice that it's time to get down to work. Our new state leaders appear to be ready. Republican Governor Jim Martin has already faced up to the fact that the lieutenant governor and the council of state members are all Democrats, and that the legislature is dominated by Democrats. He has, wisely we think, appointed highly competent Democrats to fill some of the top offices, such as C.C. Cameron and Marvin K. Dorman, Jr. to head the state budget office. A more ideological man, one who was more fanatical, might fill all the appointive offices with fellow Republicans, and then stay at loggerheads with the dominant Democrats throughout his term of office. But Governor Martin has already indicated a willingness to compromise with Democratic leaders. And this willingness, we believe, is the public's best assurance that North Carolina will continue to move forward during the next 4 years.
This has been a WRAL editorial. Printed copies are available and viewer comment is welcome. Now for a wrap-up on the weather, here's Bob.
Charlie, the big thing, the temperatures are going to ease on downward over the next couple of days. We'll have some moisture in here by late Wednesday night or Thursday morning. It could be frozen for a while. We still don't know. It's a little far away. Tomorrow should be a fairly nice day, but we're starting to get a little reinforced cool air in on top of us. So tonight, temperatures easing on down to about 40 degrees by 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. Overnight, we're looking for a low of 30 degrees. Tomorrow morning, it's going to take a while for temperatures to warm up. We had a high today of around 52. The high tomorrow only will be about 44 degrees under partly cloudy skies. And the big thing is on the extended forecast with moisture due in here Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, what our nighttime temperatures are going to be like, but we'll just have to wait and see. And Tommy, I'll have to thank the Stedman Ram folks for that. It's thank goodness they didn't try to say DeBartolate.
That'd be worse than Arakawa, I believe. Hey, Jay Jennings will be talking about Duke basketball tonight, and we'll show you some highlights of a big game in the Big East, St. John's against Villanova, 11 o'clock.
All right, Tom. Are you familiar with the Trivial Pursuit game?
I played it Saturday night, as a matter of fact, the sports version.
Well, this one, a lot of people don't like the geography category, and it turns out that geography may be one of the most feared courses on college campuses. As Joe Oliver reports, many students feel the subject gets them nowhere.
Do you know where Vladivostok is?
No.
No. I don't know.
Vladivostok is in the Soviet Union. But don't feel bad if you didn't know that. More than half of the 2,000 North Carolina college students asked the same question on a geography test missed it. In fact, about 95% of the students, freshmen and upperclassmen, failed the test. One student even said the state of Atlanta borders North Carolina. Some of the questions the test didn't ask are, where will the U.S. put 100 million people by the year 2000? Where will they find food and clothing? Where will their 3 billion neighbors find food and clothing? Geographers feel students must be equipped to answer or at least understand these questions.
In many countries, geography has a prominent position in the curriculum. If you go to England or France or Germany, indeed, if you go to Taiwan, you'll find geography a very, very important school subject.
Kopech says there's an effort to get more emphasis on geography in education, especially since students avoid the subject after high school. Why haven't you taken geography, any geography classes?
It's never been required of me.
It's boring. I didn't like it. It was boring.
The test wasn't meant to berate North Carolina students. Scholars say the lack of geographical knowledge is a nationwide problem. Where's Vladivostok?
Iowa.
Good answer. In Chapel Hill, Joe Oliver, Action News 5.
Stay tuned now for world and national news up next on ABC. I'm Charlie Gaddy. For all of us here on Action News 5, we thank you for watching and good night.
The Secretary of State and the Soviet Foreign Minister in Geneva. Is there substance behind the smile?
From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Tonight, reporting from Geneva.
Good evening. It is already Tuesday here in Geneva, and the United States and the Soviet Union have spent a full day trying to work their way out of diplomatic gridlock. The final round of the talks will begin in just a few hours. The discussions began here in an era of considerable uncertainty, both sides under enormous pressure to find a way by which constructive